Mbita as he continues on his campaign trail in the opposition region. We shall be getting details of what exactly he will be up to there. We understand that he shall also be launching that EABL plant as they had announced a few weeks ago, and as well as a couple of other projects that they have said, including lowering prices, saying that they intend to build a strong economic foundations in this region in order to even boost the creation of job opportunities in this area. Some critics have talked about this to be a mere campaign strategy, and others say, well, this is opportunities for residents of the region. Well, he is there right now, and we are getting live pictures from there, as you can see on your screen. All right, and that is what you are seeing there, Mbita. We shall be speaking to our reporter Chris Thairu, who is in Kisumu and following that presidential campaign trail. We also have Rashid Ronald, who is in Homa Bay County, where we understand President Uhuru Kenyatta will be going to a bit later as he continues on his campaign trail. Right, and even as he continues with that, you will remember that President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday, together with his deputy William Ruto, continued on that banter that they started over the weekend, saying, that the opposition is arm twisting the judiciary, and that the judiciary is dancing to the tune of the opposition, saying that they are trying to scuttle the August 8th general election. Of course, this follows that ruling that was made on Friday regarding the printing of the presidential ballot papers, where the tender that was given by to the Algurai company was quashed, and the IEBC asked to tender that process afresh. We've seen a number of events taking place after that, with the IEBC, appealing this particular ruling, while at the same time seemingly, adhering to that ruling by the High Court, by including the public's opinion in the retendering process. We saw them inviting memoranda from the public, and of course today was supposed to hold a public participation, but they have since not said that they will not be holding this public participation today, saying that Nairobi is not particularly representative of the entire country. So what they said is that they will be inviting views from the entire public, even as they continue with the fresh tendering process, which of course has caused a bit of confusion, because at the same time they are as well appealing that rule by the High Court. So I want to continue with that conversation that we had been having with my panel here in studio today. So thank you very much for staying with us. We have a new entrant, of course, who is Duncan Okach, a lawyer in Nairobi. And just before you joined us, Duncan, we were talking about, that fresh tendering process by the IEBC, who at the same time are appealing that High Court decision. And the question is whether the IEBC is in limbo right now, and whether they are able to, ensure that the election takes place on 8th of August as per the Constitution. What's your take on that?
I think my take is that IEBC is like the proverbial hare, which is at a crossroads, but has to make a decision, but in terms of which route to follow, but they are unable to make. The reasons for that, as analysts are saying, is because there is obviously influence from the government itself, which is very, very unfortunate. When you decide to appeal a matter, it means you have decided to appeal it. And more importantly, you are appealing it because you do not believe in it. IEBC as an institution actually has no business appealing. It has a business of complying with what is said to be law by the court of law. If the court has pronounced that the law says ABCD, they have no business appealing. In actual sense, they have a business in complying.
But if they have questions with it, and some of the commissioners have said that they also want to seek understanding in exactly what they mean by public participation, perhaps both for this particular election and even for future reference?
If you need an understanding, if you actually think that this particular judgment was not clear, what you do in law, you don't appeal. Appealing is saying that you do not agree with that particular decision. It's not like you are seeking clarification. There's a process in law whereby which we call review. You actually go back to the same judges, the same court. They're actually in the best place to explain their own judgment, not an appellate court. Appellate court means you're already in disagreement. IBC should actually say that the courts have said this, we will comply. Anyone with an issue, take it to the Court of Appeal. If the Court of Appeal decides this way, we will actually comply. But you should not take a position such that you are seen to be complying with a position you don't agree with. Therefore, that aspect of neutrality comes into play. And actually, that is why we are saying the buck stops with IBC. And IBC have said time and again, with the new commissioners coming into office, there was a lot of expectations, there was a lot of hope. But with every opportunity that has come their way, they have actually not wasted time in actually doing the direct opposite of the expectation. So that the hopes that the Kenyans had in IBC has actually dwindled by the second. And people are saying actually this will be the shortest serving commission.
But at the same time, they seem to be complying with that ruling because they have invited public participation. So do you see this as a cosmetic exercise, or what can we read into this? Because at the same time, these two things are happening at the same time, the appeal and the compliance.
That is why I say that they are not actually dealing as one body. It is like one hand is doing this, the other hand is being controlled to do the other. Actually, if you decide to comply, you have to comply 100%. And you heard what Uhuru Aukot, the presidential candidate, who is also a senior lawyer, saying that if you decide to appeal, then this other business is cosmetic, it is actually a time waster, and it is actually disrespectful to the people, the candidates who have been invited, because it is actually an effort in futility. Because what if that appellate court disagrees with the High Court? What will happen to this process? Actually, if you decide to appeal, everything should stay. Go and actually get your decision. If it is complied with, fine. But you see, it also defeats the other aspect where they were saying there is no time. Actually, they were saying, why should people go to court and there is no time? If you actually believe there is no time, then compliance without an appeal will actually work. But if you decide to appeal, it stretches even the time that you're saying there is no time to even more time. And remember, after that, even if it goes the other way, even if this appellate court disagrees with the High Court, the Supreme Court is also there. So we are stretching it even further, and that's the bigger risk.
Right. And the IBC seems to be under a lot of heat, seems to be the very much under pressure at this time. Do you think that all these voices and all these forces are making it difficult for this institution to conduct its job, Charles?
Yeah, I think we said that the IBC is caught at a crossroads because their core mandate is to prepare and deliver elections. But right now they are being forced to engage continuously in court actions and litigations, which is not really an area they should be. They're almost specializing in court cases. So the IBC, the challenge is that first of all is the issue of time, because now time is running out. They need to ensure that everything is in place before August 8th. But again, then there are ongoing court processes, which again I think I want to, in as much as there is a position of law that whatever the court has ruled is the position of law, the IBC probably are some issues they feel they need to be addressed so that they are able, it does not jeopardize their preparations. But I also want to agree with the issue that when you are against the issue of litigation and the courts has pronounced itself, then stop and comply. That will be my position. And that will also save us this unending circle of litigation that will not end.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit, because I know we've talked about IBC for quite some time, and we see that Uhuru Kenyatta has just arrived in Mbita, which is an opposition stronghold, and Dr. Temi, as some say, he's promised that he's going to create job opportunities for the youth of this area, as well as launch some projects, the EABL plant. Is this just a campaign matter, or actually
it is.
There's concern for the...
It is. I have been a consultant in the public sector on areas of policy, the Vision 2030, the MTP1, MTP2. And when Jubilee did their manifesto, there are issues they promised clearly. They have not been giving us their scorecard, how far they have gone. So you cannot jump from nowhere and say I'll create jobs.
Have
when
they
in
not
4
been
years
giving the scorecard though through the delivery units?
it came as a campaign agenda. It has not been happening annually, regularly. To say in the last 6 months this is our performance, in the last 12 months this has been our performance, these are the challenges we are facing. When you look at you cannot promise jobs, you promise full security, then it is a shambles. So this is a campaign thing.
Right, and of course, as Charles was saying, because of the entire focusing on the process of the elections, Kenyans have not had the opportunity to scrutinize the manifestos, in which case they would have scrutinized what NASA is offering vis-a-vis what the manifesto of Jubilee has been. But Martha, I see you have...
No, what I want to say, how are they creating more jobs for Kenyans? Well, in the last 4 years, so many people have lost jobs. Bankers, they've lost jobs. Other private sectors, they've lost jobs. I do not think whether they are committed to ensuring that Kenyans, there is more job creation. NASA, if you look at our manifesto, we have, especially, it is in tandem with education. We are looking at having the education system in tandem with the career, the talent of the person, of the student, so that you can so that you can be able to mold a person. By the time he or she is finishing her 4th form or his 4th form, she knows where she belongs, whether it is in business, whether it is in employment. And I believe NASA, we have the ability to create more jobs, because it is not only white-collar jobs, but also creating an opportunity of making more employers than people being molded to being employed.
But under the Jubilee government, we've seen the curriculum change to kind of look at skill-based kind of education. Or is this something we can attribute to the government or not?
Skill-based, they've still not done it. It's still work in progress. And there are also some gaps we are noticing the way they want to do it, which I don't want to really get into a lot, because we've got our own model, which we are implementing from September this year.
Yes, and Duncan, just your comment on how these two different parties, NASA and Jubilee, which are the main presidential candidates, have been presenting their manifestos to the Wananchi. Do you think it is in a sense that is resonating with the public need?
I have held this opinion that voters in Kenya will not vote based on manifestos. Other reasons prevail, and it doesn't matter. Even if these candidates, if one of the candidates didn't launch a manifesto, I can tell you many people are going to vote for them, will still vote for them.
Anyway.
And that is why they will not read those manifestos. What they will actually, what these people want to hear is a lot of, this is what we are going to do. Whether it is in the manifesto or not, it's a different issue. And even based on that particular aspect, if Kenyans were really keen on manifestos, the first point in as far as the government is concerned is to ask, you promised us this, have you delivered? If you have not delivered, why haven't you delivered? Before you even tell us, give us 5 years to continue giving you these promises. Equally, even on the NASA side, they also had their manifesto, and now they have another manifesto. They control more than half of the governors, which is actually a government by itself. And these governors will also implement that particular manifesto in their particular regions. The issue will be, before even this governor tells us, because their manifesto is in sync with the party's manifesto. Have you achieved this? You promised ABCD. But you'll find that that is not an issue. And that's why the manifesto debate is a debate for the elites, which does not resonate with the Monanchi, and does not even add value to actually the person who will, or even determine the decision for a common man in terms of who they will actually cast their ballot for.
Which is an unfortunate scenario, isn't it?
That is the reality.
Let me say this when it comes to the issue of the counties that NASA controls. When the 15% was sent to the counties under devolution, we very quickly realized that almost 80% was going to recurrent expenditure. In fact, less than 10% is the one which is committed to development. A lot of the functions which were supposed to have been devolved were still retained by the central government, whereby the procurement, the whatever, is still controlled by Nairobi. Take the case of health. Why do we need containers worth 10 billion, which up to today they are still lying at the port? What were they supposed? Whose priority was it? The health equipment, which again were procured by.
So are you
what
saying
we are
that
trying to say is
you want to devolve more funds?
Well, yeah, that is why we are saying in NASA under the core initiative, we realize that you must by law devolve more resources so that you could now match the activities. Because once the money is devolved there, you have no business keeping the activities in Nairobi. But the money allocated to development agenda under the 15% is a drop in the auction.
All right.
Yeah, Sharon, I think on this issue of the development vis-a-vis the manifestos, there is a certain type of message that goes to the general populace in Kenya, which is not which is different from the message that is delivered day to day in the campaign trail.
Right.
For example, right now President Uhuru Kenyatta is in Nyanza, in Mbita. There are issues that is going to talk about there in Mbita, which are actually issues that affect the people. Maybe it could be a road, it could be a major project, it could be something that is done. But for some reason, these conversations never make it to the public domain.
Right.
And I want to say that these are issues that affect the people. Make the decisions based on that. There are mothers who will say, if you give me water, I will vote for you. And those are issues that happen there. So I think the injustice or the failure in Jubilee is that they have not been able to be strategic in their communication. They have not developed a compelling message to be able to showcase what they have done, to the extent that it's only PSS and probably that PDU which does some adverts at night, doing issues that do not communicate to the exact need of the people. But when they go down to these rallies, I've had an opportunity to follow what happens in NASA rallies and Jubilee rallies also. President Uhuru struggles so much to tell people, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this and everything. They articulate a level of a scorecard. That's what they do. Even during the manifesto launch, when they were doing the manifesto launch, a number of PSS and CSS were tasked with explaining their achievements in the last 4 years. But I think for some reason, this message never made it to the public. So the failure is in communicating that, but it is
Charles, I'm told we are completely out of time now, but I want to thank you all, gentlemen, lady. Charles Kipkuleu is a political analyst, Martha Marwa, ANC candidate for Woman Rep seat in Kajiado, right? And Dr. Temi Mutie from the NASA Secretariat, Duncan Okach. Many thanks for joining us this morning.